Good evening and welcome to the April 2025 Mangan Park Neighborhood Association meeting. My name is Jennifer Holden. I am the Mangan Park Neighborhood Association leader. And today is April 30th, 2025. We have a wonderful lineup this evening that I am very proud to introduce. We are going to hear from Supervising Fire Investigator Geoff Pease about arson problems in our area. We are also going to hear from Lieutenant Jared Kiser of SacPD. Both gentlemen will be speaking as part of our Mangan Park Safety Minutes. Then we'll be hearing from Brian Brown, Amanda Wallace, and perhaps some other people. Maybe we'll find out about the former City Tree Nursery plans, maybe about some park improvements. This is a meeting that is mostly dedicated to Freeport and 34th Avenue. We are keeping this one local and part of our home base. Then Andrew Powers of Senator Angelique Ashby's office has some wonderful events to announce, and then community members will be announcing events that they are putting together. So this is a great evening of civic engagement, and please stay with us for as long as possible. And Supervising Fire Investigator Geoff Pease. Welcome. Thank you for being here this evening. What do you have to share with us that SacFire has been working on in the Mangan Park area?
Well, thank you, Jennifer. I'm here really tonight to kind of give a general overview of the function of the Fire Arson Investigation Unit and to take questions, in particular from your neighborhood association. I'll give you a little background for everyone viewing this. There are 7 fire investigators in the Sacramento Fire Department out of over 750 members. So we're a very small unit. We have a unique distinction. We're peace officers within the fire department. Our members are taken from the field, coming from a career on an engine or a truck, and we're trained to in the scientific method to serve as experts on fire. So where that plays into arson is we have a great relationship with Sacramento Police Department. The Sacramento Police Department is responsible for enforcement of laws and crimes in the city. The particular crime of arson, we have that purview because of that status as an expert on fire. We work hand in hand with them. And one thing that we do, basically, when we go out to an investigation, we have to start and objectively determine if a fire was caused intentionally. And that fits in the category of arson. So there's a lot of fires in the city of Sacramento. Unfortunately, we have about 6,000 fire calls per year in this city. Our unit investigates about 10% of those. That's 600. And that's based upon certain criteria when they're very suspicious or they're unexplainable. A lot of times, questions that we get from neighborhood associations, some of the questions we get are in regards to our unhoused population. So there's many people right now in the city of Sacramento that are moving through the streets all the time. And I know everyone in this meeting has encountered this problem before. We do have a particular subset of those people that are serial fire setters. This means they continually set fires for a number of reasons. And these are the ones that our unit really focuses on. We want to stop that activity because it's really dangerous. The way we stop it is we will usually make an arrest. Where this kind of plays into residents and businesses is we will often get calls from residents who are familiar with certain people. Maybe in the Mangan Park area, you've seen the same person several times, and maybe you've seen them lighting fires. This is a common call. One thing I want to make a distinction of for everyone here, the law in Sacramento, setting a fire in the city of Sacramento is generally illegal, but there are some conditions where it is allowed. One of those conditions under city ordinance is within an approved container, and that's generally on private property. But where this comes into play is unhoused people with warming fires. So this is something that we enforce, but it's not something that we generally can make an arrest for. And where that gets confusing, and part of our job is when we are proving the crime of arson, this is different than someone has a contained fire and is trying to warm themselves. I only make that distinction because that comes up a lot. The people that we generally arrest are often walking through the city lighting multiple fires in multiple locations, and that's distinguished from warming yourself. Um, some challenges we face in this is with the unhoused population, it is often hard to identify these people. So where residents and businesses really help us is if they have made contact with a person, if they know them by name, or if they have video of that person. That kind of information allows us to build a case. So first we start out by making a determination that a fire was intentionally set, and then we have to go about making an ID. And a lot of times SacPD helps us with that. Those are some of the particular challenges. So sometimes, because some of these people are serial fire setters, it takes us several fires to finally get them and arrest them, because we have to, follow the law. We have to have probable cause to make an arrest. And sometimes we know there are people around that are known people to us that are lighting fires, and it sometimes takes a while, as in months, to get enough information to make a case. So I bring that up because often the public, they want a quick and immediate response, which I totally understand. We want that too, but we do work within the law. So that's kind of some background. I'm really here to answer if anyone has any questions about fire setting in the city, the crime of arson, or any other fire department related questions. I can answer those.
All right, the floor is open for questions. I typically go last, so my guests go first. What are your questions for him?
If there's no questions, I can tell you one thing I know. Right now in the Mangan Park neighborhood, we don't have any active investigations. And we have had at different times, and I know, Jennifer, you're aware, we have had known people to us, serial fire setters in your neighborhood. There's been some larger fires on the edge, Freeport. There's the Hong Kong Islander. That was an arson fire that we were unable to identify the individual. There was also a property there that had multiple fires, and that was a case we were not able to close either, unfortunately. Those are kind of holdouts for us. But right now, we don't have any open cases in your district. So I don't really have stats to report to you in that respect.
I understand that those are starting to fade in time. Chris, I see Chris's hand up. I'll let Chris go.
Sure. I have a question. Prop 36, we worked really hard to get it on the ballot. It passed. We understand that it's a tool that law enforcement and hopefully you can use as well for people who are committing a plethora of crimes over and over again so they can finally be accountable. Is that helping you at all? Are you seeing any sort of movement with the use of Prop 36 working with officers or anything?
I've seen it more with other crimes, and I'm sure Lieutenant with PD can answer those questions. But I will tell you this: one thing about arson is it is a felony crime, regardless. So we don't really have to add up a bunch of times. Where it is applicable is oftentimes with the serial fire setters that I described. We will cite them. So if they're in violation of a city code, like let's say, for instance, this person is continually burning trash in the gutter, like paper cups or something, and we can't arrest them maybe for arson because often it's their own property. So you can't make an arrest for arson if they burn their own property, but we can cite them for violating the city code. And we will usually do that when we know that if we can add enough of those up and it shows a history, it will help when we finally do make the arson arrest. But I've seen more traction with that with other crimes, so vandalism or drug-related crimes, and I think it is helping PD. But as far as arson, it's a minimal impact for us.
Any other questions?
Eric looks like he has a question. He's been.
Oh, I'm sorry. I might not be looking at the right part of the screen. Eric, do you have one?
I do. It's not arson related, but it's something we're all familiar with because 4th of July is coming up sooner than later. And so in our neighborhood, and certainly in the neighborhoods immediately south of us, So it sounds like World War III out there with illegal fireworks, many years. So I'm just kind of wondering, are there any plans for any, I don't know, any more attempted enforcement about illegal fireworks, or and just kind of what happens if you do catch somebody? I guess what code or that sort of thing.
Yeah, I can speak to that, Eric. So
Okay.
the problem you're describing is a huge problem in Sacramento. It's been going on for many years. Many residents are tired of it. Frankly, the city council is really involved in this process. The fire marshal, Jason Lee, was able to develop, I think 2 years ago, they started doing what's called the social host ordinance. This has been a really valuable tool for this, and I'll tell you why. The problem of illegal fireworks, it's a similar issue to illegal guns. It's a product that's flowing into Sacramento. It's contraband, and it requires a lot of resources to enforce it. Now, technically, as far as my unit, illegal fireworks really generally falls under explosive ordinance, and that's the PD's EOD unit. Where we have some crossover, it's difficult to enforce for a couple of reasons. In order to charge a felony, you have to capture people with a very large quantity. And the way the police department often does this, the EOD department, they'll set up buy busts, and they're usually getting thousands of pounds of these a year. What's unfortunate is there's so many, they're so available. There's so many that come into the city that's why we hear them going on for days and days. They are starting a tremendous amount of fires. So the social host ordinance was designed by Jason Lee to try to enforce this. And the way it works is the Fire Prevention Division, the couple days before 4th of July and a couple days after, they send out fire prevention officers, and they're simply going to areas with lots of fireworks, and they're documenting when they see fireworks leaving a property, they're taking pictures. And then what they do is they will send a fine to the property owner. And the reason they do that is they're kind of trying to get a lot of times it's tenants. So they're trying to get the property owner to get them to stop, because the fines can be very stiff. They can be, up to $5,000, $10,000. He's had great success with that. And that's the only program in the region I've seen that has really been successful to any degree with this problem. The other item that I know the city has been talking about is trying to foster more fireworks shows that are organized, to try to remove this desire to have this chaotic, homemade fireworks show thing. And I don't know the details of that, but I have heard that that is being presented in different forums to the city council. Can we get, more of the Cal Expo, other areas that can do organized shows that are safe, that will maybe draw some of those people to do that instead of lighting them off. It is a really tough problem, though, Eric. And one thing that everyone's doing on the state level is trying to restrict the entrance of these things into California. So they come over the border from Nevada, they come in from the ports. It's a bigger problem than it should be, really. Like, it seems like we should be able to enforce this. And I know on our end in the fire department, and I'm going to just speak for PD too, because I know that they have such limited resources that in order to task officers to get out there and actually, make these busts while these people are using them, it's going to require more bodies, really. So it's a really distinct problem, and that's the component that I know. So I'm kind of proud that we have this one element that the SacFire department does do, which has had some impact on it. And I wish there was more we could do at this time.
All right. Hey, thank you, Geoff. Appreciate
Sure.
that.
Other questions before I ask mine? All right. So, supervising fire investigator, Geoff, when these investigations are still open, I understand that you were telling us that it's kind of hard to get them closed. How often do any of these cases like ours actually get closed?
They do get closed. If I have to speak off the top of my head, well, I can tell you what our arson arrest rate is, and it's actually much higher than the national average in Sacramento. We're always hovering around 30%. The national average is 20%. So what that means is is about 1/3 of our cases where we've determined that it's arson, we're actually making arrests on. That's actually phenomenal. One of the problems we have is there's two components to investigation. There's the field investigator that goes out at all hours of the night or wherever it is and does the field. Then it goes into what's called follow-up. So if you think of traditional police departments, they have patrol officers and they have detectives. Well, we kind of do both in our unit, and we're actually asking the city for more positions for the follow-up component, because a lot of times what happens is these cases, we have a few days and we have to move on because we have so many cases. So if we get some traction in the first few days, or if we had some more follow-up officers that could keep working that case for a while, we could close them. But right now we're closing about 1/3 of them, close to 30%, and that's every month. Sometimes it's closer to 40%, sometimes it's closer to 20%. Over time, the cases get often, so if enough time goes by, if we have an open case for 6 months to a year and there have been no investigative leads and no moves forward, we will often suspend that case, but it's very easy for us to reopen it. So some of these instances, what happens also, and neighborhood members have probably encountered this too, there'll be a person in the neighborhood that is lighting tons of fires. We will be able to make an arrest eventually. That person goes to jail and disappears. The fires stop. Sometimes a couple years goes by, and then when they're released from jail, strangely and often they do return to the same area and are seen lighting fires again. So we get a lot of notifications and panicked calls, and this person's back. We still have to wait for that person to commit a crime again, and that's frustrating. And I've even had on some of these fires where a previous arsonist was seen in the area of a fire, and we can't just assume that person's lighting the fire. We have to build a case and prove that they lit the fire. So in some of those cases, because there's a lot of fire setters walking on the streets in Sacramento, it gets very confusing. So just being in the area of a fire is not enough. That's not enough probable cause. So I hope I answered your question a little bit, Jennifer. It's probably not satisfying, but I honestly, we're doing better than many places.
I think we got into the ballpark. I think we did get into the ballpark there. I also have the last case of suspected arson in the area was not in Council District 5. You're correct. The last significant one in District 5 was the Hong Kong Islander, 3 years ago?
Yes.
So the more recent one that was kind of across the street and down a bit is actually in District 7. Which is Councilmember Rick Jennings, Southland Park. And we do have the Southland Park board member in the meeting, and she's driving. So I'm going to say we're asking this question together. What is the status of the bowling alley arson investigation, since it's the last and most recent?
Yeah, I can tell you about that case. That case is closed. The fire has been ruled undetermined. And I'll explain that process to you, because there was a lot of upset people about that. That particular building, which has been there for a long time, and behind that building, there was basically a large homeless encampment. There's a lot of people unhoused. They're living in conditions that are different than normal living conditions. So when we investigate a fire in that area, and the fire did start in that encampment, it did start with someone's belongings, a tent and other belongings. When we go through our process, we have to rule out things, and we do that. Usually we can rule them out. We were not able to, even with wonderful video from the neighborhood, we were not able to show that fire was intentionally set to the satisfaction of the court. And with that in mind, we can't make an arrest. So what's frustrating about that fire, we believe it was a human caused fire. That was a fire that was caused by a person. And the difference between an arson, which is an intentionally set fire, and a human caused fire is it could be accidental, it could not. And we have to prove that it was intentional. So we don't actually know the sequence of events that led to that fire. So we know that it occurred, there was multiple people within a close area there. It did involve belongings, and it involved basically a community. So what we find oftentimes in those encampments is there's a number of activities that are uncontrolled and unsafe. And there's also, so there's a lot of drug-fueled activity. There's also violence and retribution, which fits in often into the case of arson. But there's also other activities that are not intentionally meant to start fires, but utilize electricity and batteries. There's a number of behaviors there that are hard to quantify. So the answer to your question, though, that particular case, it is closed because we were unable to rule that as arson.
And it did go before a judge. It
No,
has been heard
it did
in
not
court.
go before a judge because we have to meet a threshold in order to bring it to the district attorney. So police officers, peace officers, we can, probable cause is reasonable suspicion, which is different than when you do a jury trial. It's beyond a doubt, right? So we can bring a case, but we have to meet that threshold, and we weren't able to meet it. So which
Okay.
means the DA we didn't bring it.
Got it.
But we did get a lot of, neighborhood information, and we did follow up on that. We were able to actually put people on that for several days and rule it out satisfactorily.
Okay. All right. Well,
that brings me
those
to
are
another point real quick, Jennifer. One thing that really, really helps us is video and observations from residents. Usually when we are able to make an arrest with SacPD, a really fast arrest, which is called a fresh arrest, it often involves citizen ID, someone who will stick around and give us information, because a lot of times people will call and say something and leave, and we have to locate them and get their statement. There's a case that just happened on the bike path through Southland Park. There was a guy walking down the bike path. He lit several fires, 5, 6 fires. There was a woman on her bike who watched this, and she rode after him while she was on the phone with PD. She was able to give his exact location, watched him light these fires. When the police officers were able to detain him, it was perfect for them, because when they have a statement from someone who's following him, describing him, and it's easy for us to prove those cases. So that's where we really need people's help. And we get it a lot. We get video, we get, those firsthand accounts, people that are willing to make an ID for us. That goes a long way in court.
okay. That is helpful. Thank you. And if Matt King of Charlie Park Community Association was here, he'd have a lot more questions for you. I have already communicated with him the urgency for him to show up in this meeting, and he has sent his regrets. He was traveling today and has had complications and is not able to join us.
No,
So I will give Matt your regards, and we'll hope for some other day. If there aren't any more questions, I am going to transition us to Lieutenant Jared Kiser of SacPD. Last questions for, let's see here, Supervising Fire Investigator Geoff. All right, Ben, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you being here this evening with us, Geoff, and all of your information, and we feel the support of SacFire in our area. Thank you.
Wonderful.
And Lieutenant Jared Kiser of SacPD, good evening and welcome.
Thank you. So when Lieutenant Eaton called me a little bit ago, he mentioned you had some questions, concerns about the nursery, or the old nursery along the park. So I did some research looking into call volume and stuff, and it looks like there hasn't been too many calls, if any, lately. It seems like towards the end of last year, October, November, is when there was a lot of activity for us. And anecdotally, since I work swing shift, I can't remember any issues with us being over there. So that's a good sign that there's no issues. But luckily, there's nothing for me to report there. But I'm more than open to any questions that people have on the neighborhood or police issues in general.
I'm glad to hear the call volume has dropped off through the winter. Well, here's to hoping that Amanda Wallace has some excellent news for us, and the property is going to get occupied super fast. And once there's daily legitimate activity and video cameras and lights, things will get better. But let's check in with people's questions about crime, Mangan Park, or even if you're in a different area. Are there any hotspots to report? Things that you're noticing switching up?
Are you asking us to talk on this?
If you have a question you'd like to ask Chris, now's a great time.
Okay, great. Speeding. We are, as usual, I understand that, like in Land Park, like every other neighborhood, that speeding has increased because we only have around 7 traffic officers for all of Sacramento. So it's very rare you're going to see a black and white park somewhere unless there's a huge, huge need for it. So what's going on with speeding? People who are doing sideshows, are you able to identify some of the real big problem children who continue to do stuff like that in specific parts of our cities? Like in Land Park, we see specific cars all the time that might show up on a weekend that do the same bad behaviors. We just had a car doing donuts in Land Park driving your families on Easter Sunday. That was a very dangerous situation. So those are the kind of people that we hope that the police have their eyes on and can do something about, so we can keep our parks and our neighborhoods safe, especially on holiday weekends when we get people all over the region who come to the park. So
Yeah,
what's up with that?
To piggyback on what Geoff kind of just mentioned, one of the things that we need is the people to call, is to give us that information of what's happening and where and who's doing it, because city council has passed some ordinances over the new year that gives us a lot more leeway. It's kind of like the firework issue where you call and say, my neighbor's shooting fireworks. I show up, there's remnants of fireworks. Anyone with common sense knows they were shooting fireworks, except how do I prove that it was him and not her that was lighting it? Like, you're limited in the actual enforcement, even though common sense says they did it. But now things like the pod cameras that we have, and if we get you on video, or you take a picture of the car and we can say, oh yeah, that the driver's the registered owner, we can take enforcement action on the driver. We can take enforcement action by towing the car after the fact, which is huge, because we may not get to Land Park in time to do that car as he does his 30 seconds of donuts, but tomorrow, the next week, we can impound that car from him if we have that evidence. But on the prevention side, we have a team of officers that monitor social media. So speaking specifically to like the sideshows, that they monitor that constantly to see where the meetups are going to be and what the activity is, and so that we can get ahead of them, because we'd rather stop them before they begin than arrest everybody or chase everybody afterwards, because just as unsafe for them to be speeding down the street, it's not any safer for us to speed after them. So we'd rather not let the event happen. And so we've had a lot of success with those guys kind of giving us the real-time update. That's hard to measure what the sideshow would have created when we prevent it before it starts, but it's still a victory. And then I'm talking about our motor officers. We've just started we're calling it night motors. And so there's going to be a second traffic team. The officers have been selected. They're all going through their trainings to get, kind of the expertise in DUIs and riding motorcycles, all the schooling that they need to be proficient and efficient out there. And so that should be by the beginning of summer, they should be all trained up and ready to go, but that will double our numbers. And then they're going to work what we call swing shift hours. So they're going to work the weekends, they're going to work the evening commute on until, club bar DUI time at the end of the night. And so we're going to be able to more than double our efficiency out there with that stuff real soon once those guys get rolling.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, because I got to tell you, I live near the park. I don't live on the park. I live near the park. And especially on the weekends, like the park is open from sunrise to sunset, but between 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock at night, sometimes it's just like you hear the speeding, the screeching, the loud. I mean, I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. So it's so great to get this news about the night motors. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and then I also know for, I guess you'd call it the handle portion of Land Park, the city has moved on the weekends to start closing that off, close the gates and so that that's not a congregation spot anymore as kind of a deterrent for, the car groups to kind of group up.
Really? Because I knew that you guys were going to have a discussion this week about it, but I have not heard about the final decision. So the final decision is that the Panhandle will be locked on the weekends for skating and biking and motor-free events then. Is that correct?
I can't say that for certain, but I know Sunday night there was a call to have the ranger go and reopen it when the time period was over. So to the best of my knowledge, Sunday they closed the portion of it, but I don't know if the final decision, moving forward for summer has been. So don't quote me on that, but I know that's the works.
Thank you.
Any other questions before I check in on one or two things? I want to welcome Eric, hello, and Janet, hello. I haven't said hello to you yet.
Hi there.
Hello, Eric. All right. I think I love the idea of the night motors. This sounds great. I'm gonna ask a question here. So night motors, yay. You said it will double the staffing patrolling the roads at night. How many will there be in the South Command?
It won't be dedicated to the South Command. There'll be a citywide asset. So, but there should be 1 sergeant and 5 officers added to the existing 7 motors that we have.
Okay, 1 sergeant and 5 officers citywide.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about like doubling. I pay attention to how many patrol officers we've got. So I believe South Command right now has 2 officers who work night shift. And that kind of means that 4 nights a week we only have 1. So that's I'm glad to hear we're getting the numbers up there a little bit. That's good. We could have more, but that's a topic for the city, not for you. And there's a lot of changes going on also in SacPD leadership. I know you are here covering for Lieutenant Eaton. So I really want to thank you for stepping up and coming on in and talking to us this evening when you only just got briefed on this meeting. But what can you tell us about the changes in leadership positions and what's happening there before we move on to the next agenda item?
Yeah, so Captain Geoff Shirashi is the new South Area Captain. He's replaced Captain Bales just this last week. And then Lieutenant Eaton has been the executive lieutenant, kind of the second in charge of the South Command, and he's moved on to internal affairs. He's being replaced by Sean Cunningham. So Sean Cunningham will be the lieutenant for you guys moving forward. He's been our day shift lieutenant, so he's moving to the executive. And then I'm moving to our personnel office. And then we're getting Lieutenant Dan DeLeon and Lieutenant Josh Dobson will be the new day shift and swing shift lieutenants. So both have been here Josh has been here for 27 years and Dan about 20. So a lot of experience coming to the station here. So it'll be sad to go, but it'll be a good change of good people coming in.
Well, we look forward to welcoming some of the new crew at the May meeting on May 28th. So I'll make certain to get them invitations. And congratulations on your next position as well. I'm certain that it's well deserved. And let's see here. Do I have any other questions? Nope, I think I'm good. Everybody else good? All right. Well, Lieutenant Jared Kiser, thank you so very much. We are grateful for your time and your attention and your information this evening. And Perhaps we will cross paths again, just not in a Mangan Park meeting because you're going to be in a different position. So I look forward to future opportunities as well. Thank you very much.
Sure.
And next up is Ryan Brown, Chief of Staff for Councilmember Caity Maple, to talk about 34th Avenue park improvements, the former City Tree Nursery plans, all that good stuff. And Amanda Wallace will be speaking on the subject also with Ryan soon. And Ryan, good evening. How are you?
What's up, Mangan Park?
Oh, we are having a beautiful
that's the
evening.
point where I normally get applause, but I forget we're on a Zoom.
Oh, here you go. Here you go.
Thank you. Oh, I feel validated. Thank you so much, Jen. Hi, folks. As she said, my name is Ryan Brown. I have the pleasure of working for the people of District 5 as Councilmember Maple's Chief of Staff. I am your Mangan Park Neighborhood Association liaison to our office. All of our 17 neighborhood associations have an assigned staff member in the D5 office. I am your proverbial guy at City Hall. So congratulations, you know a guy. And I would invite you to reach out to me with any issues you might be having, whether that is a case we need to take care of, it's illegal dumping, it's a hole in a fence, to name an example, or whether it is, a large encampment, it's any number of things the city can handle. I'm your person. Either I will fix it or find the person who will, and I'll drop my contact info in the chat so everybody has it. And so I am really excited to give a couple of brief updates. I know we're running a little behind time, so I want to be careful. And then I'm pretty much going to just turn it over to Amanda to talk about the tree nursery, because quite frankly, that is not the issue that I staff, and she is much more up to date than I am on this. And so on the city side, there's two kind of major things that are happening. Well, there's a lot of things, but there's two big ones I want to highlight, which is number one, the budget is here. Interim City Manager Milstein completed and published the proposed 25-26 city budget today. I know it's available online. I have not had time to read all 360 pages yet, so I don't have a ton of information, but I'm hoping to send out a report to our community team a little later this week. My understanding is that we were able to completely avoid level 3 and 4 cuts to the budget. We were able to keep our overall deficit to a little bit over 40 million compared to the 65 we originally anticipated. And through a combination of one-time cuts, one-time funding, scrounging under the metaphorical couch for change. I'm not kidding. There was like accounts with $5, $6, $7 from a project, years ago that were identified and cleaned out to make this big 24 million of one-time funding. And so with that said, there is the elimination of roughly 85 positions. 70. Oh, thank you, Jen. I could not find the link. You're the best. Click the link that Jen just put in the chat.
I gotcha.
Thank you. Roughly 85 positions are being cut. 70 of those are not filled, so they are not impacting the city's current operational, the city's current operations. There are 14 positions that are, 11.5 full-time equivalent positions that are filled, that are on the cutting block. We are anticipating that number will go down to about half by the time we actually get there. All of the employees involved have been notified already. And I know at least several were already planning on retiring or leaving the city. So it'll bring that voluntary resignation number up. I have not dug in enough to know exactly where these positions are going to be. I will make sure to have that update out to folks, later this week, early next week. But the most important thing is I want your eyes on it as members of our, greater South Sac community. Councilmember Maple is only one person. I'm only one person. We have a 4-person team. Y'all are officially on our team in terms of being our eyes on the ground. Jen knows it. I email her at least once a week. And so we really rely on the perspectives of our community members. The first thing that Caity asked me when she has to take a vote on a tough issue is, what did the community cabinet say? What did our residents say? And so I really encourage you to look at the budget, look at the allocations, and say, hey, I think this could have been done better. I think this is more important than that. I think that we should have preserved funding here. And I want you to let me know as detailed as possible so I can write that up, make sure it gets in front of Caity, and that she is prepared to speak to the issues for constituents on the dais. So please do that. There's links and info in the chat. I'll drop my email in there. I just really encourage you to read it through, reach out, let me know if you have any questions. And then I will take questions when I'm done, but really quickly, there's also, of course, our city manager recruitment process happening right now. We're actually really happy. It is moving quicker than we anticipated. We also have officially approved the revised salary range for the new city manager, which I know a lot of folks will be happy to hear is significantly lower than the outgoing manager's salary range. We have officially capped the salary of the city manager at $420,600, although we are not anticipating the new city manager will come in anywhere close to that number. What we're doing right now is we just completed a series of town hall conversations where we heard from our constituents across the city about what they want to see in a city manager, what priorities they want to have in terms of city administration. We just finished that up. We had brought in an external HR firm to do some headhunting and executive recruitment for us. And we are looking forward to beginning interviews of potential candidates, including some inside folks and some external folks. I know there's people coming from as far as the East Coast, and we have people who are currently in our departments. So it'll all be an extraordinarily transparent process handled through Councilmember Rick Jennings, his team as the chair of the Personnel and Public Employees Committee. They have done a really exceptional job of this process so far, and I really look forward to getting to know some of the candidates. We will keep you posted. We are anticipating we will have our new city manager selected, onboarded day one. They're saying August, my guess is September, but it's in that range. So I think those are the two things I really want to focus on. Before we get into the tree nursery, I would love to open it up for questions on things that aren't the tree nursery.
I have one.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Is there any way we can get more garbage cans along the back of the park there by the airport fence? I mean, you're walking and you look towards the airport and there's 24 blue dog poop bags because people are just tossing them over.
I will see what I can do. The answer is maybe verging on probably. We are embarking on a pretty significant improvement at Mangan Park, the walking path on the east end of the park soon. I will see if I can chuck some more trash cans into that. Let me follow up.
That would be appreciated.
My pleasure. Thank you for letting us know.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to clean them up because we're not allowed onto the airport levee side of things. So you have to come in behind from the end of the airport in order to pick up those bags.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah,
it is from people
Thanks
walking in Mangan
Janet.
Park, right?
I'm sorry?
It is the dog poop from folks walking on the Mangan Park side. No one's walking on the other side or in the bushes, right? Like, I don't need to get trash cans on the other end of the fence.
Well, one can never be certain with that levy, but we suspect it has more to do with the dog walkers because it's in bags.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. But yeah, Janet,
Jesse.
thank you for flagging it.
Yeah, Ron Brown.
Oh, it's Mr. Reese. What's up, sir?
Not much. I understood you say you have capped the potential incoming manager at about 400,000.
That's
and
correct.
What does those caps, are you at liberty to disclose what those caps involve, such as maybe time off, vacation, all those type of things?
That's actually a good question. My understanding is that is purely take-home salary, and the potential benefits package would reflect somewhere in the range of an additional 40 to 60,000. The council has no intention of going down the road of such an exceptionally generous benefits package again.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, we like the sound of that.
Yes.
Hey, everyone's got to tighten their belts.
First Lady Lisa, good evening, welcome.
Good afternoon. Hi, Mr. Brown. It's Lisa Baker.
Lisa.
I wanted to ask you, so I live in an unincorporated area and I
You're by Rainbow Mini Park, right?
yes. And so the hardest thing for me is I live in the county part, but like I said, it's unincorporated, so city and county. And I get ping-ponged around when it comes to me needing things when I'm doing events. And so I wanted to know, because I have a relationship with you and Mrs. Vang's office, I'm still asked to connect with my county supervisor. I'm kind of feeling like I'm getting ignored a lot of the times from the stuff that I need. So when I'm asking for stuff, I don't even get it, or it comes down to the last minute. I want to know what I can do in regards to that situation. Right now, I'm trying to plan the 25th anniversary Juneteenth event with Michael Harris in Folsom. That's June 7th. And then we're doing Juneteenth on Juneteenth, which is the 19th at the Capitol. And so it's been kind of hard getting support, and I want to know.
And is that separate from the larger Juneteenth happening at Land Park?
Well, yes, it is.
Well, there's problem number one. Lisa, you know, I love you. I'm always going to be honest with you. There's your first problem. That is the larger and more established events. Council offices generally tend to support that monetarily, like straight up, at least in terms of that specific event. And in terms of getting support more broadly, I mean, to be very straightforward, host it in the city. Our office is not allowed to do equipment event requests outside of city boundaries, and we're discouraged from doing it even outside of our own council district boundaries. And so if you wanted to get more, you know, city support for something, it would ultimately need to be within, you know, the city boundaries. That issue is kind of ongoing for us. Our district has the most contact, so to speak, with unincorporated county residents. We have our entire eastern border is Sacramento County, and that big Fruit Ridge finger before you get back into District 6, kind of close to Power Inn. And so we have a lot of county folks calling us for services. They see a significant service discrepancy from one side of the street to another. And I have to tell them that I'm so sorry, like, I can't help you. I am not your representative. These are the people to call. These are the folks who are elected to represent you. And then I kind of keep this part to myself, but I'm like, hopefully you are part of the city sometime soon. But unfortunately, that's the reality of it. There's also, I'm sure there's nonprofits, there's CBOs. I also want to make sure that I let you know that on average, I don't know what it's like at the Board of Supervisors, our office gets asked for between $10,000 and $20,000 a week. I get usually 15 to 20 separate requests that we go through as a team, decide what we can fund. One of the criteria is it's directly in our district. And so my answer to you would be work with well-established existing events and CBOs. It would be to hold things within the city limits or in the district where you're trying to target folks. And three, you know, keep doing what you're doing. You know, persistence does pay off. And I would never tell someone not to, you know, be bold. And I wish I had a more satisfying answer to you, but unfortunately, that's where we are.
I really appreciate it. So my thing is a little different because what we're trying to do is get the city to recognize it like it's a national holiday. But the city is not recognizing Juneteenth as a national, I mean, as, you know, up with the federal level.
So did you know that my office introduced legislation to do that last year? And that is one of our top requests that we're working with the personnel committee to do?
No, I did not.
That is something we're working hard on. Juneteenth should be a city holiday.
Yes.
We introduced it jointly with Rick Jennings. And the problem is that before we can introduce a city holiday, every single city labor agreement has to be okay with it. And because we're heading into labor negotiation season, we might be able to get an answer later this year. But the rest of the council has not indicated it's a strong priority.
Well, I think that was one of the things I did reach out to several different council members and city supervisors in regards to that. And it's kind of hard if you guys are having a sidebar conversation and I don't get any answer back. So I have to come to a meeting and introduce myself and elaborate on what's happening as far as me, and the support that other people, I feel that I understand that you guys go towards the bigger events, but, also let other constituents be able to have the opportunity to get funding to host things that is important to them as well. That's all I wanted to say. But thank you for
I'll
your
make a note of
information.
that.
I
Thank you,
appreciate
Lisa.
it.
All right, Ryan, we are definitely putting you through your paces this evening.
This is my favorite part of my job, Jen. What else am I doing on a Wednesday?
We are just going right across the board in every possible direction.
But do y'all have anything else for me that's not tree nursery related, mind you, but anything else is fair game? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all my contact info in the chat. I will be sticking around until the end of our segment, don't worry. But I'm going to make sure my contact info is in the chat. I know Jen has it. I know Chris has it. Geoff has it. Jesse Reese has it. Half the folks in this chat do. And so please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And I would love to defer to the fabulous Amanda Wallace for an update on what's going on with the nursery.
Thank you so much, Ryan. And good evening, Amanda. How are you?
I'm doing good, Jennifer. How are you doing?
Peachy keen, thanks. Can't complain. It's beautiful weather out there, and I have a rose garden in bloom.
Very nice. Well, for those who don't know me, I'm Amanda Wallace. I work with the city's Office of Innovation and Economic Development, and I'm a project manager. And one of the projects I oversee is the tree nursery. And so I am happy to say that we are hoping to finish up our building permit application soon, and have our building permits in hand to actually start work on the tree nursery. We are hoping to start work, I would say by mid to late summer is probably a good estimated time. Could be sooner. A lot of what it depends on is when we have to go out to bid for a construction contract. And it would just depend on what that timing for the construction contractor who's chosen would look like and how they want to phase the construction and what their timeline is. So I think I am pretty confident though we can say it'll be this summer right ground. Yeah.
Well, that sounds mostly good. I'm going to say that I'm sounding like I've been doing this for a while. It's like, yeah, I think this is about the fourth time we've had this conversation with that answer, but fourth time's the charm. Here's to hoping.
Yeah. Like I said, we've never been closer. We've never been closer. We're in our second round of building permit review. We're hopeful we won't need a third. So I would say by the end of the month, I should have a little bit more information. But yeah, that's where we're at. We did do some work on the front entry gate. I don't know if you had seen that. We had to replace the driveway, bring that driveway into compliance with current code standards, and put in new gates, pedestrian and vehicular. And thanks to Ryan's office for really working with our community development department to allow us to have an 8-foot fence instead of a 6-foot fence. And so I'm hoping that new gate, and please tell me if you experience any differently, I'm hoping that new gate will prevent people from driving onto the tree nursery. I know that had been a problem with some of the encampments, driving their cars up and trucks up into the tree nursery. So let me know if that continues to be a problem. So Christina.
Hi, yeah, I have a question. I was at a listening tour, Mayor McCarty's listening tour, one of the tours, and somebody from Planting Justice came and started asking for more money from the city. And a little bird told me that there's a couple $1 million that have already been invested in the city. So I'm just wondering, how the funding. I would love to see a tree nursery and a garden spot in Mangan Park. I think it's a fabulous idea. I'm just wondering how the funding's going, and is it being, who's watching? Is it being allocated? It seems like, a couple $1 million or something like that would be enough to get that going.
Yeah, so we have a $2 million grant from the state that Assemblymember Cooper, now Sheriff Cooper, secured for this project when he was in office. And that money can be used for the construction, and it can be used for some operations. But it technically that grant expires at the end of next year. Or sorry, March of next year, that grant expires. And so depending on construction costs, because construction costs have gone up a significant amount since we first got that grant. If there is funding left over after construction's complete, we will hopefully work with the state to extend that grant to give them some operating revenue or some operating funds. But as of right now, I don't know if there will be operating funds for them to operate. And so that's probably, I think that was probably Alfred from Three Sisters Gardens who came and was requesting money. And there's two small nonprofits that are going to operate out of the Tree Nursery. The first one is, just for anyone who doesn't know, the Tree Nursery is a 5-acre site that borders the airport. It's on the backside of the airport next to Mangan Park. And it's city-owned former Tree Nursery. And we have a lease with a nonprofit out of the Bay Area called Planting Justice. They have like one of the largest mail order all organic tree starter, stock in like the nation or something like that. So there's that revenue generating component where it is a tree nursery where you can buy plants through mail or walk up. But then at the same time, the sort of mission driven aspect of their nonprofit is workforce training for youth and formerly incarcerated adults. And so they have a really great workforce training program that they also have. And so Planting Justice is who our lease is with. They will utilize about 4 acres of the site, and then they are subleasing to Three Sisters Gardens, which is a small nonprofit out of West Sacramento. They operate in 5 or 6 different gardens out of West Sacramento. They have a community service ag program. They also do workforce training and direct sales on the site. So those will be the tenants, will be the ones operating. And so Three Sisters Gardens was probably who you heard sort of pitching for money and support.
Okay, because quickly, I just want to say that my concern would be that the city is already in debt, right? We just heard about the budget a little bit. Also in Land Park, if people aren't aware, places like Fairy Tale Town gets no money from the city. They're self-sustaining. They do their own fundraising. They do their own work. So I'm assuming that when you have a contract with a group like Planting Justice or anybody, that they are responsible for doing their own outreach, fundraising. They can't rely on the city when the city doesn't have the money to pay for it. Like they would have to do their own grant things and all that stuff. I mean, they are aware that that's what they're supposed to be doing, right?
Yes, and that is 100% what they do. I mean, we support them. We write letters of support to grants they apply for. We support them in whatever way we can because they, have a 10-year lease with the city. They are our tenant. So we obviously want them to succeed. The $2 million does get funneled through the city. The state grants it to us. We subgrant it to them. But that's more of a procedural thing. There's been very little direct city money that's actually gone into this project.
Okay, thank you.
Janet?
I just wondered if those bushes along the nursery fence along 34th Avenue, are they yours too? Because those things get overgrown and you can't even walk the sidewalk.
Yeah, I believe they're planning to remove those.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to back Janet up here and say that half of them burned last summer. And we still are looking at the charred, scorched sections. There's never been any cleanup of them. So the unsightliness of 34th Avenue has increased, and that is on the city side. That is on the sidewalk side of the fence. That is not part of the Planting Justice lease. We would love for the city to come through and clean up that scorched area. That would be lovely.
That actually is part of their lease, and they are responsible for it, and that is something they will be taking care of.
I have to back you up on that, Jennifer, because those weeds in there are about 4 feet high.
They are coming out soon. I just spoke to them about that. They're going to go out. They're going to.
And there are homeless people living back in there.
So I did just speak with them. They are, or them being Planting Justice. They have a local contact here. His name is Joe Urias. Joe knows he needs to go out there and get the mowing done. So that's going to be happening soon. And the people, are they the people that are camping there? Are they the living in the like sort of storage sheds that are up against
Yes.
the property line?
Yes.
So I'm gonna be having some contractors come in soon to sort of clean up. There was lead-based paint in the wood, like there's some small wood panels there that have some lead-based paint. So I'm gonna have some contractors come out soon and clean that up. And so when that happens, we'll move them out, and hopefully shortly after the Planning Justice will be able to move in and do some of the construction. So I know it's an ongoing issue with people being on site. If you see them on site, call, email me or Jennifer. Do you have Joe Urias's contact information? I think I've connected you before, but
I think I do.
Directly reach out to Planting Justice because it is a city leased site and is leased privately. The city can't go in and remove. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I think there's some people from police here. But the tenant has to be the one to call and report them. The city can't go in and remove anyone.
All right. Other questions? Because I have one or two for you.
Yeah, go for it.
But I want to make certain that I take care of the meeting guests this evening first. All right, I don't see any other hands up. First one up, things are going to the building permits. We haven't seen any plans for what is going in there in a long time. If we're going into the planning stage, is there anything to release to us so that we know what is supposed to be coming into that property?
Yeah, I can send those to you. One of the things that has really helped move this project along is they have a new architect. And so we have the plans are still substantially the same as what was approved as part of their conditional use permit. So the plans are substantially the same, but I'd be happy to send you would you like maybe the final plan set once it's approved, that way you can sort of see what's actually going.
I'll be happy to take the current draft and the final approved. I have a folder called Mangan Park Tree Nursery, and it's got room to expand. We can put a lot in that file.
Yeah, I can send them to you. Yeah, I can send those to you.
Oh, yes, please. Because the last time I saw any plans that were heading up for approval, they were mostly like wood lathe and kind of the sheeting for shade. There was nothing there that had foundations. There was a lot of commitment to the irrigation system in the planning, but the actual structure looked like it. I thought at the time that $2 million was we could have some left over for what I saw in the plans, that wasn't going to take the full 2 million. I can understand construction costs are going up, but I still, from what I last saw, 2-3 years ago, I think 2 million should still have us covered. Raised beds and dirt do cost money, but yeah, I'll be frank, what I saw 3 years ago, I was a little disappointed in. I was hoping something much more substantial that would be a real gym instead of something that looks like, well, maybe it'll last 10-20 years, but I mean, then it'll all fall down and be too weathered. So can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, it is. The project is mostly shade structures and what are called hoop houses, so that they are mostly temporary, long-term temporary structures. There is a reason we want to avoid having foundations, and that is because once you start doing that, you need to start making the site ADA accessible. And while it will have some ADA accessibility, the level of accessibility that would be needed with permanent structures and the additional requirements like sprinklers and things like that are just unfortunately too onerous for what they can do right now. I think the long-term plan is certainly to have, once they're up and operating and after a few years and able to be established and generating more revenue and have more of an established presence here and be able to do more fundraising and community connections. The long-term goal is to have some sort of permanent building with like a commercial kitchen. So that is the long-term plan, but unfortunately, I hate to tell you, $2 million doesn't get much for a public project. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But $2 million is sort of scraping by with a budget to do all the things that we need to do, unfortunately. So yeah, that's kind of what I can tell you right now.
All right, I got a little background noise going on. I can't stop right now, so we're just going to have to ignore this for a second. Hopefully it'll go away. My other question is about the accessibility of the property. And Lieutenant Kiser was here this evening, and since he was kind of just stepping in, I didn't raise it with him, but I have been working with Lieutenant Eaton for over a year and a half regarding a hole on the eastern boundary between our park and the tree nursery that is large enough to, it's a nice clean cut up against one of the posts that is solidly set in the ground. And you can just roll the chain link fence back, drive a small vehicle onto the property. And you can see the tire tracks going from the western side to the eastern side. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to.
I'll back up Jen there. It's if you're in the park, it's to the southwest corner, and it's just a big hole into the nursery. And like she said, you could drive vehicles into it, 3-wheelers or whatever. And we've been trying to get it fixed and it hasn't been fixed.
Well, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Jennifer, have you reached out to Planting Justice about it?
Sorry about that. I'm not in my usual location tonight. I'm dealing with somebody else's phone system. It's not set up like this. Anyway, so where were we on this?
Yeah, she was just telling me about the hole in the fence and being able to roll back the chain link fence there.
Right, and so there's gates in the front are irrelevant because people are just driving onto the park property along the side and driving into the tree nursery and driving to the eastern wall. And so those beautiful gates are there, but it means nothing. It has been a year and a half. We have filed countless 311 reports. Lieutenant Eaton said he filed a 311 report on our behalf. We have done everything and that has not gotten sealed up, and it's starting to get creepy.
So I apologize, and I'm not sure why those are not getting forwarded to the correct people. But what I will say is the reason that might be happening is because it's privately leased. And so, have you reached out to Planting Justice about this?
Planting Justice has not responded to any messages or invitations I have sent them for over 2 years.
Okay.
Gavin was definitely included in tonight's invitation and did not respond. Alfred got he got 2 invitations to tonight's meeting. He did not respond.
Okay.
So I'm not getting any traction from them.
And I want to also back you up on that, Jennifer, because the last meeting I came to, I was told not to call 311, to call Planting Justice. Never got a response on anything I sent out.
Okay. Thank you for telling me that. I will talk to Gavin tomorrow about that. And my advice for the future is please always CC me on these.
Okay.
Any communication you have with them so that something like this, please let me know. And because I will push that issue with them.
Okay. Any
because they're a lessee of the city, so it's fully within the rights of the city, as their landlord.
Do they have all of the old nursery, or just where that chain link fence goes to?
They have all of it.
Okay.
So yes, we can be as thrilled at the idea of having a tree nursery and an organic farm in our neighborhood, but I am very dissatisfied with our relationship to date.
Yeah.
This has not been a great 4 years of getting to know each other.
I can understand that.
Can I ask something? I don't know anything about how that contract is done, but is there anything within the contract, like if they're not able to follow through with keeping the site secure, ensuring that the neighborhood is not being harmed by anything happening on the site, but is actually benefiting from the site? Is there anything like that where at some point you have to let them go, or is that just not happening at all?
No, I mean, there are provisions like that built into the contract. But I wouldn't say we're at that point yet. And I know that's frustrating for you guys to hear, but, you know, the city would need to sort of go through a formal process. And I guess because, you know, I manage their lease, I just wasn't aware of these things. I wasn't able to give them notice, if that makes sense.
Well,
And so
no,
this will be
that's
my-
fine. I mean,
this will be my first formal notice to them. Yes, absolutely.
okay, if there is a formal process, maybe that would be good for Jen to know what that process is.
Mhm.
And then as you move along where you are in it, because then they have opportunities to correct this issue. So
Yeah.
you don't get to the end of the process. But it would be good to know like that you're starting that, just to give them a
Yes.
heads up. Hey, guys. Okay.
Yeah, I absolutely will. We'll be starting that process, and I have full faith in them that they will address it. Once they are sort of made aware of it, and it is, you know, really kind of shoved down their throats, like they will address it.
Well, and honestly, I wouldn't say shoved down their throats, because it sounds to me like the neighborhood itself has been suffering for a very long time, and they feel like they have not been heard, and they're in a position where they're dealing with a contractor who isn't even in the city. It's out in the Bay Area, and so they can't even get in contact. They couldn't go to somebody's office like they could here, you know, or meet up with somebody or anything. So I feel like they've been left at a disadvantage. And it's tough because, you know, you want things like this program to work, but when this is the behavior that you get, neighbors start to get frustrated. And when they see that they're being harmed, that their safety is being threatened, it makes them feel like, well, maybe these guys don't really care about, you know, our neighborhood or our community as much as they say they do. So I hope that they can fix it, because building that relationship with that neighborhood and that community is going to be key to their success.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree. Yeah.
Other questions or comments for Amanda?
I just want to say thank you for Christina for saying that, because after Jennifer, we've been going through this for what, 5 years now or longer?
Right. I think we are approaching 5 years in July.
Yeah.
We're at 4 3/4.
You're right. And we've been going through this, and not once there's not a relationship at all. Even when we come to meeting and they say, contact them, we contact them, there's no response. Now we hear, okay, CC them on it, but it's very frustrating when at the time when this all began back in the day, there were people living from within our community, within the Sacramento area, that wanted to use that facility and were denied because Planting Justice was here, and they're not even in Sacramento. When we had people here from the Tree Foundation that wanted to use it. And it's very frustrating, especially when I live a block away from it and constantly on the phone with 311, the police department, somebody to get support. It's very frustrating. And when they're not answering our calls, it really does not make a good relationship.
I can understand all of that.
And I have been as diplomatic as I can out of hope. I am switching up. I will put it on the record. I am considering this now a city nuisance property. We need to get this plan put in, or I will work with the neighborhood to get really loud about a nuisance property owned by the city in the core of our neighborhood. This needs to happen, or we need to get somebody else.
Especially, I'm sorry for keep interrupting, but especially if my grass is growing 4 feet tall, the city of Sacramento is going to come to me and find me to cut my lawn or to clean up my property. Yet that property is constantly in a disarray. Homeless trash. The fence is not only cut on that side, it's cut all the way around. That beautiful gate, like, means nothing. The wood fence on the other side is broken. That's how they're getting into, the homeless people are getting in. Now they're not going through the chain link fence as much. They're going through the other side where the lanai is.
Okay.
And the lanai is even frustrated with it.
It has been, Planning Justice has been on the scene for almost 5 years. Actually, Planning Justice applied 5.5 years ago. If memory is served, it was 2019 in the fall when they applied because it wasn't yet the pandemic.
Correct.
But this property has actually been vacant 10 years.
Yes.
And I know of one other nonprofit that was invited in and somehow couldn't get through the permitting process to have the property developed. And I wasn't paying as much attention. This is a little bit why I started paying attention this property. There may even have been another nonprofit before that. So that in the 5 years before Planting Justice had the contract, there were 2 other nonprofits that tried to get through this. So as a neighborhood, I think we have been watching the same thing happen for 10 years with 2 to 3 nonprofits. So it is now like recognized on the map of where to go, because it has been like this for 10 years. We are really, for being a blue collar neighborhood, we are so wholesome. We are clean cut. We get the job done. But we've got this one real deep flaw that is compromising what we can do over and over and over again. I will tell you, as the neighborhood association lead, anywhere I go in my neighborhood and introduce myself to my neighbors and how I'm advocating on behalf of the neighborhood, the first thing out of their mouth is, what is going on with that property? I am blue in the face, repeating the same things over and over again. With a, at the end, I'm doing my best, but in the end, oh no, they keep telling us this and we never see it. So everybody wants to know. As much as over the winter, crime really dropped, the neighbors that live along that stretch of 34th report more crime to me than anybody else. It's not that there isn't crime in other parts of the neighborhood, but I spend more time with neighbors from that end of the neighborhood talking to me than neighbors from the other end. So that is a little bit of the background from before you came to work with us, Amanda. None of this is a reflection on you in any way. I want that to be clear. This is just telling the story and letting you know our side as someone who is here to represent us and carry our concerns. And I know Ryan is in the same place also. We just really want this done. We do want this to work. I am prepared to exercise forgiveness for 4 or 5 years of frustration if we can make this work. But if we can't, then we need to get somebody else. I will tell the story. Sac Tree Foundation approached me and said that they applied. They didn't just want, they applied. They were one of the applications with Planning Justice. The Sacramento Botanical Garden applied at the same time. And then there's another organic farm that is already operating in Meadowview that applied for that space. I consider all 3 of these organizations to have made their offer in good faith, and we would have been proud to work with them. And it was hard for me to have to look at them and shrug and say, yeah, it's still vacant. Yeah, it's now we don't even have the greenhouses. Now, yeah, it's still vacant. So I have that conversation also with those organizations that looked at us as a great opportunity and we had to turn them away and get nothing in exchange for turning them away. Oh, and by the way, you weren't around, but this was when we had Councilmember Chenier. The neighborhood association was forming before the applications were resolved. We asked Jay Chenier for the neighborhood association to be involved in the selection process. We had, it wasn't me, there was another board member who offered himself as the tree nursery liaison. And we asked that Jay Chenier's office contact him and bring him into all the meetings. Neither he nor I were ever contacted. Once the selection was made, we asked to be a part of the contract process and said, Jay, call us whenever you're having contract meetings with your choice. He never called us. We asked to be a part of the contract signing so that we could at least have a show of togetherness on making this work. He never called us. So while I can speak for most people that they are still in love with this idea, the selection had nothing to do with us. And then to this day, 5 years later, they still have nothing to do with us. We were not a part of the process. We are not essential to them having that property in any way. And our relationship is, you know, completely unessential. And they're just going to be moved in, and we were never a part of it, even though we were formed and we asked to be included at multiple steps along the way.
That does sound really frustrating, and you're right, I wasn't here for that, but I can absolutely understand your frustration there.
Well, thank you. You do really good listening, as I don't want to treat you like you're a phone representative. You're far more than that, but yes, that is a little bit of what you're hearing. So Janet and Letitia and I were at meetings about this 6, 7, 8 years ago with Jay Chenier. Back when the other nonprofit was being brought in, and we had community meetings. We didn't have a neighborhood association. So one of the reasons the Mangan Park Neighborhood Association exists is because we were frustrated that we were given the opportunity to speak as a community, but then nothing ever came of it on multiple fronts, but the tree nursery especially. So the association formed, and it still didn't change anything. Okay, so on that upbeat, cheerful note, are we ready to move on? I have actually a few more questions to Ryan about park and park improvement. If there are no more questions for the ever patient, generous, and listening Amanda Wallace.
Thank you, Amanda.
Yes, thank you so much, Amanda. I will be in touch, and you'll get pictures, Amanda. I will send you the photo album of that fence so you can see how over 1.5 years that fence has not changed at all despite all of our reporting. So and I'll look for those plans from you, and we will carrying on.
Sounds good. And I'll say just more or less the last time, just kind of bypass 311 at this point and just come directly to me, and I will make sure that everything gets addressed.
All right, it is a plan. I will put that in an email blast to the neighborhood.
Please.
Yeah, I know of a couple people who talked to me in the last 2 weeks about reporting it, and I will make certain that they get your email as well as, oh heck, Ryan, can I add you too?
Anytime.
All right, you and Ryan will get the updates while we go and try to see if Planting Justice will give us a single response.
They will. Don't worry.
I know that they will.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jen, so I'm about 5 minutes overdue for my next call. I had this booked through 7:30, so I can stay a couple extra minutes, but let's try to run through stuff quick.
All right, Grant, what's going on with the park improvement in the grant?
All the subcontractors are in place. They're finalizing the agreements. Shovel should be in ground midsummer.
And we are doing a sidewalk and streetlights?
Correct. Around the eastern end of the park, the soccer fields, it'll be roughly a U shape extending from the end of the current sidewalk near the playground. all the way around to the east, down 34th, and then down, is that John's? I want to say John's. Whatever
John's
street.
is a street in that area, but that sounds.
Oh, I can't think of it.
I don't think
was
it's
there this
John's.
morning.
I think
It
John's is 2 or 3 more blocks
is-
over.
I think you're right. And what I'm talking about is Norman.
There we go. Norman will work.
So yeah, it's gonna wrap around there and then kind of connect with the gravel pathway running along the trees. I am
Can I
trying to
have a
find a few
set of
extra
those-
bucks to get that extended.
Can I have those plans so I can see exactly what's going on?
Sure, I'll make an ask.
Oh, yes, please. I would love to see exactly what's going on. Any money going to be left over for getting the pool heated or renovated or a cover over it?
No. No. Turns out even the most minimum of that would be in the 400,000 range.
And can I have a copy of that contract or the grant proposal? I think I asked for it a couple of months ago.
I believe you have it.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, you're right. I take that back. I apologize.
Not a
think
problem.
You did. All right. I will go make certain I get another look at that so that it doesn't slip off my mental list again. All right. You have another meeting to be at. We have kept you over. Thank you so very much, Ryan. It is appreciated.
Not a problem. Always my pleasure. As always, give out my info. No one here, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm your guy at City Hall. Give me a call. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Same to you, and best regards in the rest of your endeavors this evening.
Thanks a million. Bye.
Bye. And Andrew, welcome.
Hello, Jen. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm for those of the folks that are still on this call that don't know who I am. I'm Andrew Powers. I work in Senator Ashby's district office. I just wanted to provide some insights into some of the legislation that the Capitol Office is working on and some of the events that we are working on in the district office as well. We're coming off of a super crazy week, and this week is not as crazy, but still kind of crazy. So from a ledge perspective, the Capitol Office is doing really well. They've had several bills go through committee this week. All have passed basically unanimously. Bills that have included SB 370. It is a music festival preservation grant program bill, kind of piggybacking off of some of the difficulties with local events, particularly those that have kind of fallen through the cracks at Discovery Park recently. There are also passing a Charter School Transparency Act through the Senate Judiciary Committee, basically holding charter schools more accountable for their financial audits. We've had several local charter schools that have kind of come under the gun via CDE, and putting these kinds of guidelines in place will prevent that from happening in the future and negatively impacting those students. Those are two of the main bills. There's a flood prevention extension bill for the Natomas area that doesn't really affect you guys, but also passed through. I'm double checking a couple others. There's a Vulnerable Housing Act, SB 802, that also passed, as well as a Women's Prison Reform Act that also passed through unanimously this week. So lots of stuff going on from a ledge perspective. If you guys ever have questions on anything ledge related for our office, whether it's something that Senator Ashby is authoring, or I know you guys are privy to the news lately, so you guys are probably well aware of some of the bills that Assemblymember Krell has been having difficulty with passing. We don't necessarily have any impact on that, but we can definitely take down constituent feedback on any piece of legislation. We log it religiously. That information is shared with our Capitol Office and the Senator directly as well. So please feel free to call, email, with any of your stances on any bills that pass through the Senate or Assembly, and we can log that for you, no problem. If you ever want to track bills on your own, there is the Ledge Info site. I'm on my phone, so I can't really type it in, but it's legeinfo.legislature.ca.gov. That will allow you to track any piece of legislation, current and historical as well. So please, one thing I do want to point out before I head over to events is if you do contact our office about a piece of legislation, make sure to have the bill number. A lot of times folks will call in. We call it coming in hot, but they might be a little upset about a piece of legislation, and they don't necessarily have the bill number. So that makes it kind of difficult for us to log in on our end. So if you do want to voice your opinion about a piece of legislation, please have the bill number when you're contacting our office. So that's ledge, and events wise.
Hang on. Let's stay on ledge, and we'll come to events in just a moment.
Okay.
On that note, I would love some of those bill numbers that you were talking about, the charter school, transparency.
Yeah, so for the music festival, that's SB 370. That's the grant program for music festivals. The Charter School Transparency Act is SB 414.
414 and
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
we're interested in that stuff.
The flood control bill is SAFCA. It's the Sacramento Flood Control Authorization Act. It's SB 639.
SB 639.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the Housing Priority for Vulnerable Populations bill, that's SB 802.
Okay.
And then the Women's Prison Reform Act is SB 850.
SB 850, and that is women's prison reform. Yeah, we're interested in that stuff too.
There's one more I want to point out. It's SB 720. It's the Safer Street Act. It's basically a bill that will help get local law enforcement get more resources for red light cameras. And it's SB 720, Safer Streets Act. That passed unanimously this week also.
Safer Street. Okay, yeah, we're if you've been listening, we're really into that kind of stuff also.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask a quick question. I see Christina has her hand up, and I think we're going to stay on legislation for just a minute before we go to events.
All right. Well, keep in mind, I'm not a Capitol staffer, so I'll do my best and answer whatever questions I might be able to ask. So if I can't answer it directly, I'll make sure to get those answers for you guys after tonight as well.
I hear that, and I understand that. Are all of these bills either authored or co-authored by Senator Ashby?
All of these bills are authored by Senator Ashby.
All are authored. Okay, that matters. That's good to know. All right, then that was my big question, Chris.
So I have a question. Do you support or give your, have an opinion on assembly bills?
Personally, sure. On behalf of Senator Ashby, no chance.
Okay, no, that's fine. No, not you, but can Senator Ashby support an assembly bill or, talk about it?
When usually she won't give a stance, or staff won't provide recommendations on her behalf until it comes to her before a committee or on the floor. So.
Okay, great. Because SB 40, Assembly Bill 47, I was there at the Capitol yesterday with people who support it. This is the bill that basically there's a small loophole that some lawyers have found in the new Prop 36 stuff. And they're using it. So the thing is with Prop 36, the whole goal
is that the mental health bill?
Yes, diversion. Yeah. So, and just to explain to everybody else, mental health diversion in Prop 36 is meant to get people who are drug addicted in front of the court and make a choice. They go to jail, they get clean, then they get to choose between the diversion and jail. Unfortunately, what's happened is there's some lawyers and judges who have used that or are looking at that, and they have taken it to and put it towards people who have committed crimes like murder, child abuse, and child murder. And they're trying to use that to go get them into mental health diversion and not go to jail. Once you go through the diversion plan, your record is scrubbed and you're just out in the public again. So AB 47 worked on with Ten Ho, he worked on this is designed to fix that, so they don't have the opportunity for mental health diversion if they've committed a felony like murder of a child.
Yeah. So just also a little bit back, that's one of Assemblymember Carell's bills.
Yes.
She's had a tough week in the Public Safety Committee on the Assembly side. So and they don't really have a very good history of passing these kinds of public safety bills.
Why,
and
Andrew?
it's not just
why? It's common sense.
So
what's going on in there?
So I will say this, and I don't want to point any fingers, but we do have a current mayor who was a prior chair of the Public Safety Committee on the Assembly while he was there, and also posed. So I don't know. My answer is I don't know why this committee or this particular committee or the chairs of this particular committee always seem to provide additional obstacles to these public safety bills that seem like no-brainers, honestly. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you can see where I stand personally, but from a standpoint of Senator Ashby, I will say this: she has worked closely, from a bipartisan standpoint, on a lot of these types of bills. So I wouldn't be surprised if these bills were to come down and be brought to her. She would definitely approach them in a more objective manner rather than just simply writing it off and performing the status quo of previous committees and things like that. As you can kind of tell my frustrations with that current committee also. But
this is actually good to hear from you. And the reason why is because our neighborhoods, when you drill any public safety legislation down, it impacts our neighborhoods, our communities, and our parks. And I know that there's an ideological fight going on among some of the Democrat groups right now regarding how far they're going to go and regarding public safety or regarding decarceration. And common sense, if there's anything I can do or any other neighborhood association who may be willing to do to say, look, you guys need to get back in the middle. You need to use common sense. I mean, some of this stuff is just, it's horrific. That Maggie Carell has to fight as hard as she has for stuff to keep girls from being trafficked. I mean, that blows my mind. So anyway, I'm sorry. I'm stepping back, but I appreciate hearing that you're frustrated.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, I'm willing to share a soapbox with anybody on this stuff. Unfortunately, my position doesn't lend itself to be, to really invoke change. But I will say this from a district standpoint, and I was telling a young group of students this who are also advocating for another bill earlier this week. If you are able to organize, whether it's through your neighborhood association or your PTA or whoever, if you're able to organize and contact your local electeds through a district office like my own and voice your opinion on bills, those messages get through. I will say this from a standpoint in our office, we track those numbers every week and report them to our Capitol office. So if, for example, if we get 57 emails on AB 47 of people who say, you know, this bill needs to be supported and passed in X, Y, and Z. That information gets collected and reported back to our district director, our chief of staff, and in turn, it actually, I will say this, we compile that information into weekly reports, and Senator Ashby does read those, like from our office's standpoint. So we get feedback as staff on what she reads in our weekly reports. And if, like I said, if there's 100 emails about AB 47 and people are emailing and calling, just kind of like what Ryan alluded to earlier with Councilmember Maple's office, like what Senator Ashby uses us as her ears in the district. So if what we're hearing is, you know, this kind of sentiment, then that's what's going to be communicated to Senator Ashby. So I know it's frustrating, but it's, you know, it's a squeaky wheel kind of situation. So the more noise folks are able to make, so to speak, the more reaction you're going to get from your electeds. That's just kind of the bottom line from a district standpoint.
Jen and other people, but public safety is a big concern. And I have learned, and I do not have a political background, but I have learned that, you know, what happens at the state, at the legislature, that's what we're seeing on the streets. So when people say, well, the police can't do anything, it's because there's a law probably that they have to follow where they can't do anything. So anyway. Thank you.
And thank you, Chris, for raising that. Andrew, it is a little late. We've lost a bunch of people. But
I know, I'm sorry.
No, don't worry. One, it's a recording.
Okay.
Two, if I know the room as it was, anything that is about law enforcement, public safety, prison conditions are a hot topic with the people who tend to be here.
Okay.
So you SB 720 and SB 850 will ring a lot of bells. The other thing that is a frequent topic of conversation is anything about road safety. That gets talked about in all the associations every single time. So prison reform was SB 850. The red light cameras are SB 720. Housing and homelessness is another huge one. So that's the SB 802. So it does look like Senator Ashby is on topics that get talked about a lot in neighborhood circles. So you gave me a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I can tell you right now that most of the people who are here at the start of the meeting would be interested to talk about 802, 850, and 720 right now tonight if we had this segment at the start of the meeting. And I'd be saying, okay, who wants on the committee for SB 720? I was thinking of doing that until I checked my count, because they would have said yes. I know them. We've done this before. So if you could send me the fact sheets for those, I know how to go onto Legiscan and pull up the text and get that link out to them. But if you've got fact sheets or anything that you're distributing to the public on 802, 850, and 720, I will make certain those fact sheets and links get distributed. I think also you had a bunch of neighborhood associations in here tonight who do music festivals every summer. I think SB 370 is one that they would like to look at also.
Okay.
As their feel good. So give me those fact sheets. I'll get the word back out. We'll see if we can put together some little committees to do some reading and provide you and Senator Ashby with some feedback on these bills and kind of let her know how it's rolling with her constituency.
Yeah, absolutely. Public safety is really big. There's a couple other bills I didn't mention that weren't up for votes. There's a SB 11. It's a AI Abuse Protection Act. There's also SB 50. It's a Victim Digital Safety Act. and SB 319 is a Public Safety Transparency Act. So the public safety is really big on her priority list this year. Some other traditional priorities that we didn't really mention, but she also has some other legislation geared around both present and in the past is foster youth resources and literacy resources, particularly for K through 3 students.
Well, with the loss of Head Start, we really need to be on that.
Yeah.
Okay, let me back up. I think you and I talked once. We both used to be school teachers, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
So early education, early literacy support is a massive component to overall success in getting a diploma of any kind. So I love it. Yeah, shoot me all of that.
Okay.
And I will create an email and parse it out to the associations and say, who wants to take a look at, these bills as a part of the other work that we're doing on these subjects.
Great. Perfect. So that kind of addresses some of the stuff that the ledge staff is working on in our office. From a district standpoint, we've got a lot of local events that are coming up that we should really get on folks' radar. And some of them aren't necessarily in the immediate Mangan Park area, but I think there's still good events to kind of get on people's radar as particularly as this month goes by. So this Friday is actually the so I'm just going to kind of go down a quick list. This Friday, May 2nd, Aggie Square, they have a ribbon cutting coming up. It's open to the public, so don't be intimidated. I know it's going to be like a big kind of press conference-y kind of event, but this is a big deal. Like it's a major hub that the city has worked on toward getting in place and getting completed, and to have a ribbon cutting at this point is just it's really a great accomplishment that the city's worked toward, and a lot of people have given feedback from the public. There's just a great partnership with UC Davis in the works here, and it's really great to kind of see it come to fruition after quite a few years. So that's this Friday. This weekend, May 4th, at the Crocker Art Museum, there's the Descubra Family Festival. It's going from 11 to 3 p.m. I'll be there. I have 2 kids. We're planning on stopping by and checking out a lot of the family-friendly activities there at Crocker this weekend. Next week, there's a Strong Start statewide day of action at Fairytale Town. It's also a press conference-y kind of event, but I know there's going to be other family activities going on. So I know Christina mentioned Fairytale Town, where Senator Ashby is a really big advocate for Fairytale Town. We'll work with them toward getting state funding toward their operational budget, and in particular toward building their expansion that they just recently completed too. So it's always great for us to get out to Fairytale Town and kind of celebrate what they're doing. Saturday, May 17th, there's the 50th anniversary Hmong American Day at Elk Grove Regional Park. I know it's, again, kind of outside your guys' area, but that's it. Anytime we get to do an event or go to an event at Elk Grove Regional Park, it's always big and huge and massive, and a great thing for you to take your families out to. There's also a fentanyl awareness event at Seeley Park on Saturday, May 17th. So this is something that was kind of put on our radar by the DA's office. So we're always looking to do events with local electeds and help support wherever we can. So this is kind of one of those events. Thursday, May 22nd, there is a spring career fair that we're actually partnering up with Cal HR on in Del Paso Heights. It's at the CETA work, I guess like a work center. But there's going to be over 30 departments there that are going to be actively recruiting folks that show up. So yeah, that we're looking forward to that. And then last day, Saturday, May 31st, there's the second annual Sacramento Book Festival at the Shepherd Garden and Arts Center from 10 to 4. So I know that's a lot. There's a couple other events going on. I know the Meadowview Farmers Market's going to be going down this Sunday. So if folks are close and want to get out to the farmers market, that's going to be going from 9 to 1. There's one thing I did also want to point out is that a lot of times we work with, so I kind of mentioned CalHR, we do work with other state departments on promoting webinars. So specifically, there were a couple, so Franklin Boulevard, their PBID, they actually had a first-time homebuyers workshop that they were doing. One of the things I kind of wanted to point out from a district office too is that we work closely with a lot of PBIDs, and a lot of these PBIDs have these types of events that are really beneficial to folks. You don't have to be a business owner. A lot of times they're free events, so we post we share a lot of this information with our constituents. I always recommend folks that if you live near a PBID, or even if you don't, check out their websites and register for their newsletters. They're really good sources of information for these kinds of resources. From a state standpoint, we work closely with offices like the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, DFPI. They do a lot of great online webinars. They have one coming up on financial literacy that I'll probably share some information with Jen about that you can help share. As they do, there's a lot of offices do these types of events. So Department of Insurance, they do a lot of informational webinars. I know folks are really concerned about rising insurance costs and things like that. So the Department of Insurance has done a lot of work in getting information out to constituents, specifically regarding rate increases. So I know that's been kind of a hot topic in the news, whether it's homeowners insurance or car insurance or any type of insurance, really. It's a hot, it seems like you can't turn on the news lately and not hear things that are going on in the insurance industry. So that's kind of in a nutshell, like what we do from a district standpoint. And I know that was a lot of a mouthful for folks that I think we may have dropped a couple other people while I've been rambling.
We have, but you are talking to more than just the people in the room at this point.
Okay. All right.
And the recording will go on, and
okay.
we will get the word out,
okay.
so that you can see a little bit of what I worked on today. You and I have been kind of tag teaming each other. Let me get a screen share going up here.
Okay.
I started my summer activity document. Let's make certain I don't drop it now. And so there are some links that you sent me, as well as some from Land Park. Chris is still here. So I snagged some of Chris's work to get up some of her weekend events.
Great.
And then right there, we've got the Aggie Square ribbon cutting is on the list for Friday. Land Park has an events on Saturday. And Sunday is the Crocker Art Museum and the Meadowview Certified Farmers Market. And then Fairy Tale Town is busy on Thursday, May 8th, not only with your Strong Start statewide day of action, but also with the mayor's listening tour stopping at Land Park. And the city budget is going to get discussed by council on May 13th is the next big day on the calendar. And then I got in all your other ones. We totally support the fentanyl awareness effort. And I am very happy to grab that and get that word out. And then something else maybe to share with Senator Ashby is that the Veterans Affiliated Council has 2 Memorial Day observances happening. The one on Saturday is in the historical cemetery. And then there's the big one that everybody knows about in the Memorial Auditorium on Monday. But there's a quieter one on Saturday that if she's available, I think I could sweet talk the Veterans Affiliated Council into an invitation. I'm not too worried. Those are a couple of things to add to your list. And then, the book festival, I'm actually a member of the Writers Club. So that is totally on my calendar. And that is already on the Mangan Park Facebook page. And let's pump it. I don't know if Ashby's district goes into the Sierra Curtis Neighborhood Association, but you can see that the Curtis Fest is on June 1st.
Yeah.
And
I was kind of hoping Michael and Garrett would have stayed on so I could kind of connect with them. But if you have their contact information, that'd be great. I like the.
All right. I can send
base
you
with
Michael, and I can send you Garrett's and Eric's. I don't have Michael's yet.
That's fine. Either way. And then Christina, I also I'd love to give these kinds of updates for your community association meetings as well. So if you want to touch bases with me, and we can, set up a kind of get you guys in our district office community association meeting rotation, that would be awesome.
Andrew, June 6th, we're having a community meeting. I would love you to come. We make it fun and bougie. I'm going to make sure there's a little wine, snacks. We know after a long day that going to another boring meeting is not fun. So we try and make it fun for you to show up. And it's at Fairy Tale Town in the Story Center. So because we don't have a community center in Land Park. So Kevin Smith-Fagan, we have a great relationship with him.
Yeah.
So where do I get your information? Are you going to stick it in the...
Yeah, I can.
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Okay, great. Perfect.
Awesome.
I'll make certain you two connects and Chris Andrews.
I got a new buddy. He's showing up. Yeah.
And let's get your meeting in there. I saw it and I got moving and forgot. So that is June 6th. Which day of the week is that?
June 5th. It's on a Thursday.
Thursday.
It's on a Thursday. Yeah. LPCA community meeting. We'll probably have Rick Jennings there to give us an update, or his chief of staff, Dennis Rogers. I'm looking at having some of the fire, somebody from the fire department come and talk, because it's close to summertime and we were talking about fires earlier. So they're going to come and talk. And then it would be great, Andrew, to have you or somebody show up and kind of talk about, I think it would be really nice to especially connect people to understanding why it's important to know about specific bills, and how, like you said, if they can give their feedback and understand how that would actually impact us in the neighborhood, in a positive way. So anyway,
definitely.
But it's and then we are right now, we don't have, we're planning some meet and greets, we're planning some slightly adult events in the future. So if you go to landpark.org, you can see everything that's going on with Land Park Community Association. I do the social media and website. I'm always on there updating things. So you can find out what's going on. And then we are going to have a fall event coming up, but we just had Bunny on the Green. It was a huge hit, family oriented, like the Christmas thing. I know Senator Ashby's been to one in the past. Well, we're going to do a fall event September. Right now it's scheduled for September 27th, and it will be at Land Park Golf. So we're working on that. And that's it.
Awesome.
Hey, have we hooked you up?
This is
you're muted. There you go.
Yeah. No, this is perfect. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much. I think you brought a lot to the meeting, even if you were the last speaker. You have definitely shared a bunch of good stuff that people are going to want to hear about. And the recordings for the Mangan Park Neighborhood Association meeting, it's not uncommon. I know this sounds like a tiny number for YouTube. It's not uncommon, though, to get 30 or 40 watches or views. So people don't always make it in on a Wednesday night at 6 p.m. But what do I notice on my YouTube analytics? Saturday morning at 9, they're clicking and looking it up and catching up on their Mangan Park news as they're, preparing to go for their bike ride or their walk on a Saturday. and listening to the sections of the meeting that they wanted to hear about. So you're going to be heard, Andrew. You definitely still brought it to the meeting, and I always send out a debrief, and I will include this information with a bit of a call to action on the debrief, because there are groups that operate as little unofficial public safety, transportation, urban tree forestry. There's, and I suspect education could be one we could put together also. So just when you know who the people are who are always paying attention to that, you can get people to circle back and say, yeah, I want that information. I want to talk to others about what they're seeing.
Awesome.
Well, I think it may be just the three of us right now. Andrew and Chris, I will send you out this as a draft. You can see I've got gaps in it. I forgot to ask Ryan when the ice cream social and the pool opening will be. I hear the Mangan pool is opening. In the past, it's traditionally been somewhere around June 15th. But I need to get that consolidated for exactly which day. Andrew, I'll be certain to send you any information about the pool opening and the ice cream social so that you and your office can be fully informed. Otherwise, you'll get this draft so that we start the master list. I'll pass it around to Sierra Curtis and Chorley and Meadowview, and we'll see what else we can get added to it. And then we'll have the summer plan of things we want to do together. Oh, and before we leave, I should be putting it on here because I got a little overwhelmed. The next Mangan Park meeting is, let's see here, May 28th, 2025. It's Wednesday at 6 p.m. And the topic is indoor air quality. And Councilmember Caity Maple has gotten enthusiastic and said, I want to be there. So Ryan may be there, but with any luck, Caity Maple herself will be here. She has strong feelings about it. Richard Falcon of United Latinos is a confirmed speaker for the project. Is it federally or state funded project that United Latinos is working on for air quality monitoring inside of houses, inside people's homes, indoor. And then Janet Lamb of the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Monitoring District reached out to CARB for me, and CARB has an indoor air quality project going, and hopefully we'll get a speaker from CARB. So it will be a completely well-rounded conversation about indoor air quality monitoring that I hope will be something that'll really bring in people, because it's not something we talk about much. We think about external, but that indoors air quality and what's going on, how to monitor it and how to keep your home as safe as possible, I think is something that will strike a more common chord. And that is the dedication for that May 28th meeting, Wednesday at 6 p.m. And yeah, we'll see how that turns out. I already am sending out some extra call to actions to Meadowview to come in and ask all their questions, because Meadowview has problems with air quality too.
Great.
Well, it has been grand. I want to thank the remaining people in the meeting for your endurance and steadfastness. And I hope tonight has been helpful and informative for all of you. And I look forward to our next opportunities to speak, if not on May 28th, before then. So let's all stay in touch. Rachel, I'll reach back to you as well, and let's talk. I look forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. Appreciate it.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.